Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we are doing something a little bit different, a little seat of the pants, because this is the seat of the pants studio. I thought we would just, because this channel is primarily dedicated to stealing a great idea, that I thought I would combine something a little bit OSR ish, and that are random rolls combined with, well, stealing an idea. And so I have a large die collection, lots of dice, and as many of you in the tabletop RPG community have, you're proud of your dice collection. But this dice collection specifically does not have any numbers on it. But boom. Do. Thanks there, the Ed King. So those of you that are able to participate in the show live, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, generally Monday through Friday. Real life does try to creep in. You are the hosts of the show, and so since I am a huge proponent, and for those who've been around a long time, I always speak about uh, rolling randomly, and random encounters aren't exactly random, and you're stuck for ideas. This is the place to come, and I thought I would demonstrate this with your help live on air. So, no plans, nothing written in stone. All of the links for all of the dice that I'm going to use and show you guys are listed below. They come from they're everything from the classic Rory story cubes to Best Comms dice to Black Citadel, so on and so forth, scrying stones, and so on and so forth. And all of those are going to be listed below. So we're going to have ourselves an encounter, and these dice, as well as there are a number of books that have random tables. If you're stuck for an idea, your players are at the table and they make a left turn and you don't have anything ready. This is um, this is how we're going to proceed. So, uh, with no without further ado, let's introduce some of the dice that we're going to use, and let's begin with these. Um, And do I have all of them? Almost. I almost have all of them. So we have here a large number of dice, and these dice do not have any numbers on them. They have words, and we're going to use these words to establish ourselves what kind of monster or creature. We usually we like to have our encounters begin with monsters, even though I personally don't. I like to have more of an environmental effect. We're going to get into that, but we're going to start with our monster. Um, this initial die right here, and ooh, I wish maybe the lights are a little too bright. This die, 12-sided, has a large number of dice, and they correspond to. Let's move this out the way. They correspond to these dice up here. So, this one, uh, D12. If we roll on that, we come up with a fey creature, and I know it may not you may not be able to see it too well, but we do have a fey creature, and it is this die. This kind of greenish. It's like a pale green color for at least 12 different types of fey creatures. We have a little brown die here, and these are humanoids, from gnomes and half orcs all the way to halflings and humans and such, Asimar, etc. We do have a gray die that has all of undead. We have a black die, and these are all fiends and fiendish creatures, devils and demons. We have a pale blue die, and these are for all aerial creatures. They had to pick a color. I might have picked blue for aquatic, but anyway, whatever. Um, and then we have a dark green die, and these are for monstrous and goblinoid creatures. We have a dark blue die, and these are it's kind of a Gaxian die, Underdark die. There's like rust monsters and mind flayers. There's mimics and owlbears and cockatrices, basilisks, and such. Gelatinous cube is on here, and then we do have a bit of a palish bluish gray die for deep sea. And absolutely positively can roll on all of these dice to get what you want. Um, Yeah, yeah. The die system does seem a little bit of like a low tech AI system, I suppose. Yeah, it's randomized. Like, wait, what are you going to get? Yeah, but it's cooler than AI. Mike says, from where were those dice sourced? All the links to the dice that I have are listed in the doobly doo. I might be able to pull them up here in just a moment. So, but yes, all the dice. These are just uh, D10s and D12s with just words on them, and it's kind of cool. So we came up with a fey creature, and very quickly, which kind of fey creature? I rolled Blink Dog. All right, so yeah, thanks there, Mary. Um, yeah, I rolled Blink Dog. So we do have ourselves a random creature. We're stuck for an idea. Oh man, what's going to happen? We need something here. Actually, allow me to move this aside for just a moment because there are a large sets of other dice in this in our little assembly here. We do have a set of dice here. We've got let's see if we can move these aside. Oh, I forgot. There's an elemental die that I forgot to add to our other group. All right, so this is a strange assembly of dice here, but I'm going to separate them a little bit. We have a set of black dice here from Black Citadel, and there is an alignment die. It says good, evil, neutral, etc. There is I mean, it's good, evil, and neutral. And then we have another alignment die that's chaotic, lawful, and neutral. So you can get some alignments in there if you. And this is since you are the dungeon master, game master, narrator, storyteller, flame tender, whatever. You can roll that behind the scenes, maybe for an NPC. We also have here a NPC die, everything from half elf to elves to halflings and um, dwarves and things of that nature. So that those are from Black Citadel. We have let's see if we can move these in the correct location. Um, Again, down in the doobly doo, we have our set of these colorful dice here in the middle, and uh, each die represents a different part of the exploration. So, for example, we have a green die for directions: northeast, southeast, southwest. We have a landscape die. It's a little dark sometimes, but you can get rolling hills or grasslands, maybe some mountains, uh, some homes or whatever. There are we've got to have something else. There's a trail. We do have mountain peaks and such. We have that. We have items that may be found, a helmet. We may find coins or a flask of some sort, maybe a scroll. We have various items that may be found inside of dwellings. This is a bed. There might be a trap or concealed door. Um, there's a large concealment here. I'm trying to remember what this stands for. It doesn't matter. We have a trap door, things like that. Maybe if they find something, they win. The the W may be like win, or F could be fail into something. They might find something surprising. There's a chair or a bed, that kind of thing. Uh, this die is kind of funny. It is a reaction die, and depending on the facial expressions, you can go up with some funny things with it, like whether someone's just like bored or they're worried. Um, Maybe they're a little bit annoyed, or they're just like I don't really care why. Or ogres, I don't care. Maybe they're angry. So there's a reaction die. This one is a dungeon die, so you can have a room, uh, rooms, dead ends. I know it's going trap possibly. I'm trying to remember what this is. I think it represents a lever or lever styled room. There's a room with one. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that die lets you decide what's on the pain chart. Oh, I've got dice, hit location dice that I didn't bother bringing in, but I guess I can go get them. Hit location dice. We've got like critical hit and critical failure dice. Yeah, some of them are pretty fun. I didn't know we would use any of those. This is a weather die, and so we've got those dice here. Let's move them here, and let's temporarily move these aside. Similarly done, these are, what is it? Let me pull the bag out here. Um, Scrying stones, and they can be a little bit difficult to read because there's a lot of detail in them, although they are larger size. And there is a Scrying Stones book to help you read what they say. Yeah, Michael says the triangle's a sloped passage or a ramp. Actually, kind of like maybe like this, closer to this with the arrow going up ahead. And the reason back in the OSR for like dwarves being able to tell um, sloped passages is because players. This is when dungeon levels literally corresponded to the level of your characters, which also corresponded to some of the creatures in those levels, and you could accidentally go to a level that's tougher than your player group could handle at the time. And so if you were on the third level, you could go down a sloped passage without knowing it into the fourth level of the dungeon. A little gamist, but whatever. This is a Scrying Stones book to help you read some of them, and then there's like a dice guide as well, so it just lets you know what all of them are. The website for my what I'm going to show was uh, the DM dressing dice, which are pretty extensive. There is a website that lets you know all of the pictures, what they all mean, and how to use them. And there's even ways to create. Uh, they even have a random name section with a D6. All right, so these are the scrying stones that are above here, and I could show you. Let's see, it's got good contrast on these. So showing the contrast on this, like, see if we get a little closer here. Let's see. Let's bring the light down just a little bit. There we go. There's someone who looks like they are a little bit sick. We do have an come on. We got an eyeball. We got like a pig for dinner. I think that is that way. It's a little bit hard for even me to see it from my angle behind the camera and whatnot. But yeah, um, NPCs. Boom. Maybe it's a goblin. Nope, it's a human. Oh, it's an elf. Oh, it's someone scarred, battle ready, dragonborn. Someone skulking, etc., etc. Okay, and lastly, whoo, this isn't all of them. These are all from GM's dressing dice, and there are multiple collections. I've got the whole collection. There's multiple collections of damn near everything. We're going to roll on these. Don't worry about it. We're going to roll on them. But the collections all represent like dungeons and wilderness and people and all that kind of stuff, and roll them together. So we have a fey creature. We came up with blink dogs, so we need to have some some generalized like, oh man, what are we gonna do if we have blink dogs? Where is it at? What direction is it? Where are we gonna roll? Well, we're gonna do that right now. So let's move these guys up here, and we're gonna roll ourselves some dice, and you're going to help us figure it out here. So we know to the east we have ourselves our blink dogs. Came up with our fey creatures. So we have our fey creatures and blink dogs, and these are to the east. Now, to the east, let's see, we have stairs, we have a chair, we have, it looks like surprise on someone's face, we have some hills, it looks like possibly rain. An idea's already coming to my head. and there is a battle axe. Okay, so what we can do here is kind of put all this together. Blink dogs tend to be good, but they don't have to be. If we wanted to roll on, let's see, our Black Citadel dice, and we get a we get a turtle. Wow, this is Echo Bot and lawful and good. Wow. Okay, so with our collection of dice here, we have a fey creature and blink dog, which is good. We also have a turtle and we have an alignment of lawful good. Maybe there's an NPC, the player characters are traveling along, and they come across a turtle, a little bit of a hero and a half shell, maybe, who's befriended a blink dog, or maybe the blink dog and the NPC are together, or the turtle is part of a larger group. Maybe they are. Maybe the turtle is in trouble, and the blink dog is trying to get the player's help, maybe from a distance, howling or sending some kind of messages and whatnot. Um, let's hide this bit for a minute. And that could be very much to the east. Um, there could be maybe the turtle is surprised when the PCs are there, or the blink dog is surprised that there's someone there who can help them save the turtle that's in trouble. Now, we do have a. Let's see if I could turn this correctly. It looks like a set of stairs, possibly. A little hard to decipher that a little bit, but I know it's a dungeon thing. There's a chair, so definitely there may be stairs written, carved into a set of hills, and rain could be coming along, as well as the fact that there could have been a battle, and what happened is the turtle is injured, or the turtle has a battle axe, and maybe they're stuck. They've fallen down the steps. Their allies, or what have you, pushed them down the steps. There's a blink dog or blink dogs that are come across the PCs, and they're like, "Hey, bark, bark, bark! We need your help!" And they run off to the distance. The PCs may not even know they're blink dogs; they just think they're dogs, and they go to follow them or track them and realize that they're in distress, and realize, well, we're not in distress, but our friend is down there. And they find a turtle, and the turtle may be going on a quest to find this battle axe. So anyway, this is kind of a very limited, generalized way. Yeah, and King says this is sort of like interpreting a tarot deck, and there's no rules to this at all. There are no rules. I mean, we can pick these up, take them somewhere else, boom, put them aside, and come up with all kinds of other interactions, especially when you have a number of monster dice. And each of these dice are thematic. So, for example, let's go with our goblinoid dice, and we can roll this, and we come up with gnolls, and then we rolled it again, and we come up with gnolls. Well, apparently the dice are speaking, and that's what AI. We have lizard folk who live near gnolls again. Is this a weighted die? All right, all right. And lizard. Apparently, this adventure is very thematic, and it's only going to have one of the two. It is very much like interpreting a tarot deck. I mean, if we roll on uh, our underdark die, we come up with a cockatrice, maybe, and then we roll again. Oop, it rolled in the corner. We roll again. We come up with a gelatinous cube down in the underdark. We roll one of these other die. I believe this is our aquatic die. It sure is. We come up with a marrow, and then we roll again. We come up with a dragon turtle. So um, with our blink dog and Feywild, we went to the Lizard Knoll Valley, and absolutely, when you come up with something like that, even if it's not ridiculous, but you're like, wait, the tarot dice are trying to tell me something, and very much so. Okay, maybe there's gnolls and lizard folk that are in odds with each other, and they caused during a conflict between the both of them. The traveling turtle maybe has the classic stick with the wrapped bandana on the end of the stick walking along, and it's just like boom, they push him down the steps, and the gnolls are like, we don't really care about you, but get out of our way. Arrgh. They push through and keep on going. um that's always a possibility for our story here. And mind you, like, you can start, if you know which dice you want to use, you're like, oh, I need a quick NPC. Okay, it's a local dwarves, and their attitude is, and you roll some dice. The attitude is that they are angry, maybe because the turtle has the battle axe. But let's roll for their alignment. Um, okay, they are lawful good. This is starting to scare me just a little bit. And the dwarves carry with them. Let's roll a die. A scroll. Maybe it's a missive or a letter. It could be a magic scroll that allows them to activate the 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 magic battle axe that they have. That's going to help them regain their land because the lizard folk and the gnolls have taken over. There's another part of rolling these random dice that is pretty important, and that is, when rolling random dice, your creativity does not end at the moment you roll the dice. So a lot of times, what ends up happening with random rolls or random charts, and why people hate random encounters, is because there is an intrinsic feeling that they don't fit into your game. That for some reason, rolling on a random table or rolling some random dice means that there's no way this can fit into what you have planned for the evening. I would argue that random encounters are only as random as you make them, and they fit only as much as the tool that you're using. So for example, if you it's like using spices from your spice rack when you're cooking dinner. You don't, when you're making a recipe, you don't just grab random spices and sauces and things of that nature. No, you grab the ones most appropriate for your meal. Now, you might put different spices in it, and you may put different levels of those spices, and take the classic um, uh, television trope of people cooking. It is almost never messy. They always happen to have a towel over one shoulder, and someone goes and dips a spoon into the spaghetti sauce and tastes a little bit of it and goes, "Oh, it needs a little bit more sage or paprika or something," right? And it's the same thing for random rolls. Also, much like I talk about the campfire and the tavern, random encounters are a microcosm of your world. It's basically your opportunity to lore dump without boring your players. So if you have a random encounter going through, I'm going to say it, the accursed desert, then those random encounters build upon the knowledge that your players have, even if they don't actively uh, interpose themselves into the encounter. Maybe from a distance they see a nomadic tribe moving along. Well, if that nomadic tribe, they're diseased or injured or they're scared, lets them know, or they're peaceful and happy, lets them know more about the world. And so, um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oops, the cursed desert can't escape it. No, I'm just playing around. So here we have our most extensive dice, and they are the GM's dressing dice. As a matter of fact, allow me. I wasn't going to do this, but allow me to share with you the website GM's dressing dice. Let's see if we can find. Yep, yep, yep. We're gonna find the website here and share it out to you guys. And, and let's place it up here. Up. Let's see. All right. So this is the website to the GM's dressing dice and roll table and a die. Yes, it is. And mm, mm, mm. Let me move down here. Sorry, trying to get a good look at it. And bam. So each of the dice groupings lets you know about what those dice are, and it gives you like And it kind of gives you a little bit of a way to zoom in and go, oh, that's what that means. So there's like location dice, climate, settlement, and they have different colors for them. I don't remember all the colors. Um, Settlement features, location features. So these are all like the players go over the hill, crest the hill, and you see something on the other side, and PCs are like, "What do we see?" And you're like, I'll show these to you just a minute. There's an NPC box, and it gives you different types of colors. That's what I was moving aside here with our NPC box, and I'll show these to you in just a moment. And then there's a dungeon box, and there are elements here: King's Castle, Dark Cavern, Lord's Manor. Explains to you what they are: Priest Temple, Ancient Ruin, and the NPC box Part Two, which I also have. And it tells you what kind of a way to use them. Someone rolled the dice and made up a map, and yep, someone rolled beer. Okay, there's the Thirsty Ox Inn. Shady people inside. Oh, it's near it's near some kind of oasis or something. There's a caravan road. There's a field of the fallen. Oh, there's an outpost somewhere. This looks like an oh, it's like more like a swamp. Mists of the King, etc. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we have blink dogs, we got a turtle, we had lizard folk and gnolls. Uh, we may even want to roll some more NPCs. So let's get ourselves some NPCs here. Mm-mm. Let's see. So grab ourselves some big die roll, and then mind you, you don't have to roll these when you're rolling random tables anyway. There's no time scale for this, right? You can roll them anytime you want, whether it's instant, whether it's beforehand. You could roll them behind the screen, or if you're online, just roll them and then you have them on the side because you want to have these as extra NPCs or encounter elements or something of that nature. So this die is like a personality die, maybe an encounter die. Um, Someone's worried, maybe someone's bored or sleepy. They maybe that's more worried and that's more sleepy. This one could be sad. Of course, it looks like they're angry. You can interpret these any way you want. We have a class die here. So we may have a kind of a wizard or sorcerer. There's a warrior here. This looks like a tribalist or priest, maybe a witch or something. There's a wizard. So this could be a bard. This could be a charlatan or something. There's there is a bard there on the other side. Again, kind of a class feature type of people. So it could be sorcerer. This could be barbarian. Of course, we have warriors. We have kind of maybe a ranger of some sort on this die. Uh, there's a martial artist. So we do have barbarians here. We have colors. Colors could represent anything. The color of a crystal, the color of the sky, color of plants. While there's a reason why you can't see this one, is that's because there's literally, I don't even know if it, there it goes. It's actually literally a white dot. Um, so maybe so you can see something a little bit better. This is more of a dark green dot, so you can see it a little better. But yeah, it's literally a white dot. This is a purple, and of course, there's purples, red, orange, things like that. They could be banner colors. They could be the color of mystic fire or something like that. It doesn't really matter. You can make up anything you want. We also have ourselves some other faces. Face die here. This one, I don't know, it races that you could find. Dragonborn here, Tiefling, could be human. Looks like a Genasi, maybe fire Genasi. This could be Goliath, possibly. something like that. So could be Asimar. Thinking Asimar, but you don't have to follow that. You can make it anything you want, especially if it's thematic. Definitely elf. We got ourselves a human here. Happy-go-lucky halfling. Got ourselves a dwarven beard. Oops, not exactly sure. Could be a goblinoid. Definitely, if you got steampunk goggles, you're definitely dealing with a uh definitely dealing with a gnome. So um the barbarism thing definitely fits in with our lizard folk and gnolls if we want to do that. The worries. This may not be just one group, but maybe each group is on edge because of some greater monster, something that's out there. Um, there could be special gifts that the turtle has that is traveling along, and others are trying to find the turtle to get back the battle axe. Or maybe the battle axe is being used by one side and that's been turning the battle. Maybe the gnolls have the battle axe and the lizard folk are scared about this kind of thing. Um, we also came up. These are some more the non uh, more niche humanoids. Looks like dragonborn or lizard folk maybe. Um, we have uh, maybe Aarakocra, or what's the other non-flying bird folk? Corvids, things of that nature. We'd have a Warforged, or Gearforged. There's another bird folk. One's raven-like, the other one isn't. Um, Tabaxi. So what did I roll over here? There we go. Definitely fits in with the lizard folk. I did here because I rolled that die. And we have another. This is uh, uh um six ability scores. So we have charisma, we've got strength, dexterity. I'm sorry, tough. Constitution, dexterity, strength, intelligence. We have wisdom, and then we have charisma here. And I think I rolled on charisma. Mm, 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 mm. It's the Kenku. The Kenku are the non-flying the non-flying repeating things back people, uh, repeating exactly things back they hear or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, that is one set of dice. We also have a landscape sets of dice, and we can roll on landscapes and landscape events and features. Um, this fits in very much so. We have ourselves like a lightning bolt right here. It's very difficult to get this to zoom. See if we can get this to zoom in even more. No, no. It's gonna screw up. So we have ourselves a lightning bolt here with storms and rain. That could fill a valley because we do have hills. We do have some trees and shrubbery and landscaping. There is a an entrance to a crypt or cave. Sunken ship in a swamp. It's a little bit different, although it works for maybe the lizard folk. Who knows? Let's see if we can turn this. Um, I'm thinking this is a coastline. It could be swampy, but I believe it's a coastline. And if I go and find it on the GM chart, I probably can find it here. Uh, Dead fish, eaten fish, things like that. Food. Here's a little campfire symbol. There's some eggs, maybe someone finds. There's a warning sign: danger, do not enter. But we have ourselves. Here's a little hazardous creature, but we have ourselves fish. Maybe one of the encampments of the gnolls. They ate something, and they tend on moving on, and there's food left there. Now here, let's go back to the GM's dressing dice, if there's a symbol that you're like unsure of, they do have it on the website here, so we can go find some of the symbols. There it is, the campfire, dark cavern, and we have our fish here. And again, you don't need to abide by the titles, but yeah, it kind of helps. Kind of helps. We're gonna move these dice aside. Let's get into a deep cavern dice and some features there. Ba, ba, ba. Okay, we have crystal. There we go. Let me move this around so we can kind of see, compare and contrast. So I should have a pointer. That's what I need because my little fat fingers. All right. So we have a mine cart. We definitely have a mine cart. We've got crystals. We've got a lit brazier, um, maybe spilled concoction, and it could be an altar or a sacrificial altar. It could be a raised crypt. It could be a pedestal of some sort. Um, but for so in my mind, what I'm thinking is that there's a contested region, that there are dwarves who've been kicked out of the region because it's been overtaken by this conflict with the gnolls and the lizard folk. I'm thinking the lizard folk are very much swamp like, and because of recent rains and storms, the deeper parts of the valley are where the lizard folk live, and in the upper hills are where the gnolls live. And the blink dogs have lived here for quite some time. Neither side being able, they just happen to happen to live in the region, but a traveling turtle moving through the region has come there, maybe in search of goods or stories or something. And the blink dogs understand that the turtle is being attacked. The dwarves can't help them, and maybe the dwarves and the blink dogs have like an uneasy alliance. They don't. They're not necessarily friends or enemies, but the dwarves are pretty good. And the in this region there are maybe different havens and crypts and things like that that the dwarves carved out of this place. Maybe not necessarily a deep mine of sorts, but a place where the dwarves could gather resources in and underground, but just kind of surface like, kind of like panning for gold, living maybe no more than two or three rooms into the hills if they even dig for them, or maybe natural caverns that they've gone in. And now the lizard folk and gnolls have taken over, and and with this is the opportunity. The Game of Thrones quote, "Chaos is a ladder." There may be an even more evil entity along, having to manipulate and take advantage of these people, because now that the lizard folk and gnolls are at each other's throats in these little skirmish battles, it could be that it's opportunity to find some, maybe get some ill-gotten gains from what the dwarves have. And so now this is just a random feature. Maybe the players come across this on their way to the across. We want to go to the accursed desert, that's where the blue dragon is, right? But they find this along the way, and as you roll more dice, you can start to build some different features, or roll a single die multiple times to come up with uh to come up with some elements. And especially mixing in, like for example, we did roll some trees and some thunderstorms, and a sunken ship. Let's see if we get this dice back. Yep. So we did roll some of these physical features, and it's possible that maybe there was a sailing craft that could go through a valley. Like maybe it wasn't a valley. Maybe it used to be a trade route where ships could go through, but it was shallow and the water has dried up, and so now it's a little bit more swampy, and the lizard folk live there, and maybe their haven is this sunken ship, but they use the inside of it as like their haven where they take prisoners or something, or they live in and around it, maybe like going up into the crow's nest to find something, uh which the crow's nest kind of reminds me of this, since we rolled some Kenku bardic people. Okay, we need to roll some other things. We got some other dice here. some accoutrement for these could be special items that people have, or man, this light is really blowing this out. Okay, these may be special items the PCs have, maybe the NPCs have. Especially one of the great things to do is to give like special items, one use items, magic items to your NPCs. And then if the players do defeat them or steal from them or something, the players get to use them. So A, you don't need to use an identify spell. Maybe the NPCs are using them. And B, you can modulate the difficulty by giving the NPCs these special or unique or just different types of equipment, and then you can use them. And then when the PCs gain them, it's like, hey, you defeated this even greater enemy. So yeah, why not? All right. So right here we rolled some items. This is like basically armory. We have different types of armor, shields on this die. This is pretty bold. Is this? Wait. Oh, okay. There we go. Um, we have ourselves like a raw breastplate. We have leather armor. That looks like chainmail. That's plate mail. I rolled for scale or ring. Um, we got a breastplate right there. So maybe the maybe the warlord of the Knoll faction is wearing that, and it could be magical, or maybe it's just really well made. We do have another die with which has a um, clothing more so than anything, uh, whether it's like whether it's finery. I believe this is like fine clothing, work clothes. There's a little bit of tattered part here in the corner. Maybe it's winter clothes because their person's really cold. Maybe it's like the PCs are like, it's pretty temperate for me, and they're like, no, it's chilly. We have general clothes for middle class. We do have basically scraps and whatnot, but and that looks like a little bit of armor, but I forget what I rolled. I think it was just tattered clothes. We also have a cloak, and a cloak, maybe a cane. Um, they have a house cat. They have a unique glove on. There's or maybe a pet or a statue. Um, we have a drink, ale or poison, but we do have a cloak. Maybe one of the lizard folk wears a cloak. We have weaponry, longsword, battle axe, maybe a rod or a staff of some sort. We have a mace, spear, darts, bow. So long swords, pretty common. Maybe stolen from, maybe being used and stolen. They're dwarven manufacturer blades that are being used. That would give another clue for the PCs. We have a hat here, hat, maybe um, a hood. We have ourselves a different kind of hat there. Different items. Bandana, maybe that looks like a northern type hat with fur on it. So we have maybe a witch's hat. That would be the turtle. Could be maybe like a witch or something. Mike Marin says this. It's obvious, but there's definitely something about interpretation of the images rather than text, which would be emergent at the table if used. Especially if you do something like, okay, I think you're about to say what I'm going to say, where you say something like a player who uses rope as a weapon might see the rope belt of that farmer's coat and decide that's my instructor rather than that's a random farmer. Exactly. I was going to say letting your players see what you roll and kind of like feeding off of the players, like what they assume is there. Yeah, you wouldn't get that if you had the words farmer's tabard. Exactly. So, for example, just using this one, I mean, it could be that maybe the one of the players is like, oh, I grew up on a farm, right? Like you said, and they're wearing the same kind of clothing, or maybe this used to be finery, but it's worn away, and they're wearing the clothes of uh, of nobility, but these ravagers took it and they're wearing it and using it like like thieves would, just using it. For example, in the Lord of the Rings movie, Viggo Morrison, they made, even though it looks like he's wearing like a blackish gray outfit, his outfit was made out of silks and finery. We just saw Aragorn, he just kept it on and it got dirty. And he said he specifically wore the sword and the outfit to get it dirty so that it would, you could kind of tell that he's a noble, but it was so worn and frayed and dirty that he's no, you like, you if he walked into a noble court, it's like, no, you don't belong here. And the same could be said for a lot of these die rolls and the images on them. Like, for example, there's a chicken here. It could be that the gnolls have a chicken coop, or there are wild chickens running around and the PCs are like, oh, there's, uh, I don't know, there's all kinds of things. The Yankee says it would be interesting to introduce these narrative dice to a system like D&D. I now, if if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the features of these dice are specifically Dungeons and Dragons. Let's let me grab. I mean, all right. Like, for example, for NPC dice, like I'm pretty certain means Asimar, because we have Tiefling right here. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but Tiefling, Dragonborn, uh, Goblinoid, Orc, Half Orc, Fire Genasi, or maybe just a general Genasi. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Like, for example, uh, definitely elf or half elf, human, halfling, dwarf. Not certain, not necessarily tiefling. Um, Eladrin maybe, gnome. So yeah, yeah. Mike says I'm inspired to code similar values into a little random generator program, but it can never be as smooth, malleable, and magical as a person interpreting those for players. And along with the there, I would dare say that we constantly use random dice, except for the fact that, why is this graphic? I hate this background. Um, we constantly use randomization, because when your players interpret things or start talking about things, um, the randomness can come about just through discussion. So, for example, if you roll dice and go, "Oh, hey, players, you see these things," and the players interpret it differently than you do, that's an added randomness into it, and also maybe a way to twist it and cultivate it into the players. Like, if the player sees a coat of arms or something and they go, "Ooh, that belongs to my family," boom, you have personal stakes involved. So I love it. Mike says, personally, gnolls were more commonly used as an antagonist in older editions. We have tons of variants of gnolls in 5e, but I've yet to see them used in anything published by Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, all the more reason to use them. Yep, yep. I like myself some gnolls. They fall outside the casual goblinoid family, and I like them. I think we need more of those. Yeah, yeah. Watsy have been cagey about gnolls. Yeah, and they have some problematic backgrounds, which I think there's an easy way to solve it, but whatever. Um, but yeah, these I absolutely guarantee you these dice um, have been used plenty of. The people who created them are literally called GM's dressing dice, and it's definitely a thing. These dice are all like random landscape items, random room items, random, like, you're stuck with, you're stuck and you're like, man, I don't know what to put into this location or this room or what they find or whatever. And these just become like, instead of describing the accursed desert as endless seas of sand, this is a way for you to change it up a little bit. So here we have ruins, um, We have a shelf with bottles on it. We have a catapult, used or unused. We have ourselves a bust, maybe, or a bas relief, or a bust or a statuette of maybe someone important. We have a musical instrument. We have a town with looks like a kind of a big town. There are, let's see, there is a smaller multi-story buildings. There is a fort or encampment. There's a castle here. There's a nice rural homes, farmstead maybe. So we have ourselves a little town. We have a pet, maybe a dog. Um, we have a fool. This might be for royal court, right? We have an entertainer, a fool acrobat, maybe chandelier. We've got ourselves. We definitely have to have a throne or a large table. We have people giving gifts, arriving to give gifts. Nobles, pets, absolutely sit beside the things like that. So we have ourselves a pet. We have a portcullis. Maybe it's to an entranceway. We have beer, entertainment, an inn. Maybe this is a bell tower or a religious location. We have a school or government house or something of that nature. Uh, this could this could also be a this could be a wizard's place, or it could be a religious institution, maybe a very large one or whatnot. But we have portcullis. Hookah. This is kind of cool. Very thematic if you're thinking about the accursed desert. We have that. We have a potted plant. Plants, maybe. We This die has like a wardrobe, clock, table, portraits, but we have potted plants. Again, we have liquids. Apothecary, I believe this is maybe liquids, diamonds and minerals. We have a pestle and mortar, um, ink for writing missives. What else? We have pentagram. So yeah, chemicals. Mm-mm. Not sure what this is. A laurel, a wreath. Yeah, it could be anything. Chair, maybe religious. There's a religious idol. Mm-mm-mm. People praying. So yep, a laurel or a wreath. People could be carrying that towards a religious location. Again, we have a clock tower. So all of these dice, um, spilled drink with flies buzzing around. That goes excellently with our beer from our other die. We have a chalice, bells, incense, things like that. So chalice, and all of these can be used. All of these random dice could be used as maybe you are creating your world and you're like, another city, how do I make this different? Or when they go into the city, let me roll a die and see what I get, right? And then you grab some random dice, grab some random dice, roll them in the chart, and you're just like, okay, diamond looks like a shovel. There's a person walking. There's a clock on a shelf. Great. Okay, good. I got some items. Teacup, maybe. Teacup. That's right. This place doesn't have. They don't serve beer and grog. They serve tea and chai, right? And that automatically, a lot of those little things can spark other ideas. So this is just basically like I talk about a lot of times. It's mind fuel, right? It's it's what can we use? What can we have that in our disposal, like using cards, like using random tables that can break us out of our mold and kind of dislodge that thing in our head, like another inn with more brawls and serving grog. Like I need something different. Mike says, seeing ruined statues and a weapon of war, I'm seeing a nation, ancient and vast, completely ruined by war. Okay. Um, uh, Tying into your desert, imagine a flood in the past, but not of water, of sand. A massive wave of sand buried the nation, yet buried the nation as a last ditch weapon of war by a circle of mages. And I absolutely love that, right? And this could be backstory to a region where you're like, all I really wanted my players to do, the players wanted to go from A to B, and I didn't want to make it a boring straight line, right? And I don't want them to just make survival rolls. I want them to, you know, find something. Mice's small scattered communities have sprung up, harvesting the various tactile varieties for nourishment and medicine. The laurel might impact peace as the towns are in a state of peace for now, and that goes along with rolling the worried look on people. Maybe everyone is on edge. Like, is war going to break out again? We're so used to war. Oh man! And the blink dogs, strangely enough, might be here trying to prevent that war from happening in their own way. And maybe the PCs, the blink dogs, are like thinking, we'll get the PCs attention, and they'll help some of the people who don't want to be part of this war to get out of here and to save them and to lead them away, while there may be others that are trying to promote war and battle. And maybe there are no good guys or bad guys. Maybe the dwarves are like, we want our home back and we'll murder kill anybody that's there. The gnolls have moved in, and the gnolls are like, we used to live at the top of the hills, but there's no life, there's no livestock up there, there's no life. We used to just eat chickens and run across the plains, but now it's lifeless and you know uh, desolate and desert like. And maybe down in the lower reaches, the lizard folk were living there, and maybe their swamp is drying up, and they're moving on to other lands and stuff, and taking over particular lands. And this all this together, mind you, is just from some random die rolls, and you could roll as much as you want or as little as you want for these kind of things. So I just want to introduce you. I do have a large large die collection, but I did want to introduce, like, hey, there's some dice out there. Again, the links are down in the doobly doo of the video. So if you are someone who is interested in getting some or all or a little bit of these things, if you're someone who's like really, really struggles to come up with new encounter ideas and things, this is great as well. Maybe all you want is PCs. All you want is PCs make a left turn and come in and encounter a monster. You just roll on a random monster die. Oh, great! We have an elemental. Let me grab my elemental die. Um, Elemental die, the blue one, and we have lightning. Okay, we need a lightning elemental. If you don't have that in your stat block or something, snatch something up and just turn it into change its damage type into lightning damage. Great. Okay, now we have that. Okay, now we need um let's just roll for some alignment here. We have chaotic good. So maybe there's a this electrical being or NPC or something, maybe a lightning genasi or whatever, anything you want, and you can start building the story on top of that. And as you start making these, um, as you start cultivating these stories and your players speaking out loud, which is, I think, is should be a trait that we give to players, that they should be involved in speaking about their presumptions, their investigations, their predictions, their assumptions should be used by you as the narrator and building your story, because three, four heads is better than one, right? Mike says the lizard folk are like Gila monsters, desert dwelling lizard people who burrow through sand instead of swimming. Absolutely, right? Lizard folk don't need to live in swamps. There are In real life, we have lizards that live all kinds of places, and they could be like diamondback, or what is, I think it's sidewinder snakes. They could be like that, where they burrow into sand. Um, what are boulets? Land sharks are their pets. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The gnolls could be, maybe the lizard folk swim through the sand, and the gnolls ride above the sand, maybe on um, craft that are blown by the desert sands, and they use sails, or they ride on the backs of giants, you know, snakes like cobras, or turtles, or what's I'm trying to think of something desert like scorpions, things like that, or even buzzards, jackals. as pets or something. Jackals could be the blink dogs in a desert. Mike says the Knolls have seen the potential of conquering this territory, perhaps unwittingly triggering another sand flood in the future. That's a possibility as well. Like maybe on the horizon are these very strange. Instead of a classic thunderstorm, maybe they're like heat storms, and instead of rain coming down, like you said, maybe there's like a sand flood, and there's a high electrical ozone level, like electrical activity. Maybe like the players, their hair starts to stand up on end, and they realize that like a electrical arc, bolt of lightning, or something could come from the sky by accident, and you have to watch out for them. Yeah, Mike kind of goes down the same rabbit hole I am. Sandstorms can generate tons of static. A lightning para elemental could live in a permanent sandstorm. Exactly, and they sweep through, and these groups haven't been able to dominate each other because of how chaotic the atmosphere is. So they kind of like do these guerrilla warfare, strike real quick, and then they run and hide because the sandstorms come through, and there's like a lot of like electrical arcs through it, very static electricity. The sand covers tracks, the sand covers over havens, maybe even blocking people into the caverns, and they have to dig themselves back out again. Um, which would be a very cool kind of environmental effect. It is Thursday, so it's kind of an environmental effect. And lastly, we have Mike says it may be ancient enough that it is the singular being that remembers the original war, the electrical being. Like, yeah, yeah. And we did roll a little bit of like uh, religious iconography, maybe. Um, so it's possible that this ancient elemental being could have been left here by a demigod, or maybe the demigod has long passed. The people have died in the war. The demigod's powers died off, and all that's left is this elemental. The elemental could be a type of genie, like in the Ifrit and Jinn. Maybe it is a I forget the name of the Sky Storm one. Although it doesn't have to have any intelligence at all. It could be emotionally wrecked and just is nothing but pure anger. Um, and the blink dogs themselves don't have to be dogs. They could be jackals that they've lived in the desert for all this time, and they're just trying to keep themselves alive. Maybe even dropping a puppy or something. I think I did roll a dog over. Where's the dog? The dog. Um, but yeah, maybe they dropped a puppy off with the PCs and to keep it safe or something like that. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. So, lastly, the the dice that I did not show you are are and I did not roll. I'm sorry, I did show them to you. Little ASMR, and these are scrying stones. Scrying stones. Difficult to get. I don't believe they make them in large numbers, but I believe they are still making them. And it definitely is called DM scenario dice. Definitely, Dungeons and Dragons related. Yeah, work beckons. Yeah, for me too. Yeah, have a great one, Mike. Absolutely. So definitely, this book lets you interpret some of these. So we have ourselves. Let's see, do our interpretation. Try to turn these around so that we can understand what we are seeing. I think it goes this way, maybe that way, and this way. So we have our character creation dice. We have an unusual race. Okay, so we have an unusual race, definitely lizard-like. Let's see. Let's move on to jobs. Jobs. So that is our D12. And nope, we have praying hands. So we have a priest or priest like function or job. They could be a religious sect, or they are very religious lizard folk. That could be a thing. We have ourselves quirks, and we rolled. What did we roll? Ah, that's what that is. Couldn't tell what it was. Um, this is a missing limb. Let's see if we can. There we go. Right next to that missing limb. Maybe one of the elders of the lizard folk has a missing limb. It's kind of cool. Um, quest creation die. So what kind of quest did we have? I thought this was facing the other way. That's really it's weather related. Thunderstorm. Bam. Fits right into what we were talking about. We have a terrain dice, and it looks like this. A little bit hard to decipher, but I'm pretty sure this is a forest. Yep, it's a forest. And lastly, in our book, we have a dungeon. We have a dungeon theme, and let's see, dungeon theme mountain. Hmm, volcano. There it is. It's volcanic. I was thinking of a mountain, but there's a thing. Mountain fortress, volcano, aligned with the desert. Not very common, but why the hell not, right? And then lastly, we have ourselves some kind of treasure, and so we're going to find what is looks like a weapon. Yeah, melee weapon. Bam. That goes back to the battle axe. So anyway, that's an introduction to some randomization here, guys. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I will say there won't be a show tomorrow or over the weekend. I had the opportunity to take some time off, which I'm so happy about. So anyway, everybody have a great day. I am so thankful that you were able to allow me to show you the actual um, some of these dice that I have used, um, not necessarily live at the table, but sometimes if I have a creative uh, if I have a creative backlog or something like that, yeah, these kind of dice really help out. Um, it's pretty crazy how many options there are out there. None of these dice have any numbers on them, and so you could start adding in the numbers as well, like very easily, right? Um, we start once you start taking in a lot of this kind of thing, plus hit location dice and um, uh, critical hit dice and fumble dice and all that kind of stuff. And then this isn't even including like worry story cube dice, which kind of have a little bit of a more modern bent to it. And then there's like other children's dice where you could have like horror stories or campfire stories and things like that. You can do a lot of fun with this. And I thought we'd do something a little bit different. So guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. I will see thee next week. Peace.